Well, hello, this is Dr. Don Lynch, and here for a fathering moment with our fathering network. And I hope this will be widely distributed amongst those who are looking to us for fathering leadership at any level, international or personal, national, kingdom, or just general information that I know will be helpful for those who are fathering, who are being fathered, or for those who are fathering fathers, which is the role which I have entered into in this time of my life. You know, I just came back from a powerful conference in Memphis, Tennessee, with Apostle Clay Nash and my apostle, Dutch Sheets, as well as Dwayne Miller and other important speakers. And during this time, as always, I made myself accountable to the messaging, the fathering spirit, the emphasis and priorities that I receive through alignment as an apostolic flow of grace through Apostle Dutch Sheets reaches my life, as well as other apostles who were present. I was then accountable for my messaging, my prioritization, my urgency in the sense of where God is at and what God is doing with my personal assignment in the nations and in the United States of America. I made myself accountable. Let me explain. I preach, of course, I write, and I provide leadership. And so emphasis and prioritization is an important aspect of leadership. Creating urgency or motivation is the fathering motive, or the way in which fathers, through experiencing the passion of Jesus and of the Father, it's his passion that Jesus experiences and releases, that we are living by love, and love is passion for purpose. And so, as a fathering leader, I maintain my personal passion, and then I release that passion and urgency into all of those who I am responsible to father at whatever level. Now, Dutch Sheets is the apostolic leader in the United States to whom I make myself accountable. And then here's how I do it. I don't meet with him. He and I didn't have coffee. We didn't enjoy breakfast together. I was with him at a table with other people. But, you know, the dialogue wasn't personal, in other words. Now, I suppose that if I had a crisis in my life, Dutch would respond, but he would probably respond by surrounding me with apostolic counsel, because his role in my life isn't so much personal as it is that we share alignment and assignment for America and for nations. So in other words, he didn't come to my birthday party. That's the way Dutch says it. And he isn't going to, help me pray through the need, that's personal in my life. But in terms of messaging and in terms of this very broad assignment to America, an assignment to nations, what God's doing in the world and what God's doing in our generation and what God's doing in our nation, I make myself accountable. So I hear his message and I say, is my message consistent? Is there conflict, contradiction? Is he reaching a different conclusion? Does he have another set of priorities? Is he creating urgency in another area other than the ones in which I'm creating urgency? And in this way, his fathering leadership, you see, comes into my life and through my life into every person, because that's being translated to Brazil and Africa and Europe and excuse me, other parts of the world. This is just real fathering moment, so you get the coughing as well. And so in order to achieve that and receive that, I spent money. I flew there, I stayed in a hotel. Cost me money, must cost me time. And it cost me an investment of pursuing a moment in which to make myself accountable. Now, I also read his blogs and his books, and I listen to what he's saying as much as possible. I don't follow him everything, every word, but what happens, you see, is I'm making myself accountable to this leader at the level at which he's leading me. So, if I needed marital counsel, which I don't, but as an example, Dutch wouldn't be the one to do that. But if I needed Dutch Sheets to stand with me in some way, he would have a strategy to do so. However, he's not a personal father in the sense that he's the one looking me in the eye and gauging the condition of my heart. If he knew something needed to be shifted in my life, he would probably put me into apostolic counsel where I would receive counsel. Now, on the other side of the coin is I do have a personal fathering relationships, and of course I also have this apostolic counsel in which to make myself accountable. But also I father fathers and I father spiritual sons and daughters, and in order for them to receive, they have to do the same thing. They have to go out of their way and prioritize their lives in order to receive from me. And to do that, they have to make themselves accountable. They have to report, make me aware. If they're in crisis, they're telling me about it, their point of view. Many times already know about it because God said, here's what's going on with your spiritual son or daughter. But in order to be properly fathered, you need to honor. And part of honor is pursuing a fathering leader as a father. So when Paul says, or when Jesus says, honor a prophet as a prophet, you receive the reward or receive from the prophet what God is making available to your life. If you don't honor the prophet as a prophet, you don't get the reward that would come from a prophet. In other words, if you honor a prophet as a teacher, then you're not going to get the reward God has made available to you from a prophet. So the principle is if you honor a father as a father, then you get the reward God makes available to you from a father. If you don't do this, then there's something God's made available to you that you won't receive any other way. You say, well, I have a strategy. I'm just, God's going to directly disciple me. I have a father in heaven. I don't need any earthly father. No biblical basis for that at all. And tons of biblical instruction that tells you no. Tons of biblical instruction that says there is something available to you through kingdom leadership and a fathering spirit that you will only get when you submit to God's design. You align yourself with a father, make yourself accountable to a father. So, in other words, many people say in this generation, we don't have fathers. Well, Paul did say you don't have many fathers, but he didn't say there were none. What he said was that if you want teaching, then you'll have 10,000 opportunities. But if you want fathering, then that's a totally different designed relational dynamic. What he meant by that is if you want to go out and listen to people tell you things that you want to hear or need to hear so that you can be in charge of that yourself, you'll find a vast amount of opportunity. But if you want to submit to a father so that you receive what only a father can give you, you'll discover it's a rather narrow pathway. And that God will be the one to assign you a father. And what you need to do, and what you need to learn to do is how to be fathered by learning submission, learning reporting, learning how to press in or pursue, and how to prioritize your fathering leader. That doesn't mean you can never miss something or you can never, but if you honor a father and your father is local or regional, your father, in other words, personal, then you're going to have selected opportunities when you can hear him preach, you can read his books, you can follow his blog, you can listen to this video, you can be a part of this fathering forum. In other words, there's going to be opportunities for you to receive and for you to be truly accountable to receive all God's providing for you. You need to take advantage of all of those things. And when you don't, there's a form or a measure of dishonor or lack of honor in which you don't have fullness of honor, so you're not fully receiving what a father makes available to you. Now, very few spiritual sons do. Timothy was one that Paul said, the rest of them, all my sons are thinking about the things of themselves. Only Timothy, he's different. He's thinking about the things of the Lord. And what Paul meant by this was, and of course I talk about this in my book, Apostle And we discussed this in terms of fathering and how to have the DNA, and we're talking about that spiritual DNA, that in order to do that and receive the fullness of that, is what Paul was saying about Timothy. Timothy's the one who is getting the most out of my apostolic fathering, because Timothy's the one who is seeking the things of the Lord, not like a teacher with the idea, I'm going to get all this information, wisdom, and I'm going to pull in these people. Then I'm going to sit down with what I've received, and I'm going to be the one who makes the application and the implementation. I'm just going to lead myself. Now, personal leadership is fundamental to kingdom leadership. But if you don't follow kingdom leadership dynamics and you go personal leadership, Jesus and me and nobody else, I don't need any other leader, then you're completely in malpractice, dysfunction. And was move the meter, across. In other words, who's over here, I'm completely self-motivated and self-led. And over here, the most ultimate aspect of this is what I'm talking about, is how to honor a father as a father, the way God designed all this, not all the things that you can find out that are wrong and Pharaoh and blah, blah, blah. People, they waste lots of time trying to create a polemic about what's wrong with fathering, when right in front of you is the fathering. It's imperfect, but the imperfection's already been, it's already been taken into consideration that God knew he was going to have imperfect fathers. So the ultimate is simply, here's what fathers are designed to do. So honor a father as a father, and you get the reward. You get what God has made available to you through a father, and there is no alternative to that. There isn't any plan B. There isn't any, well, I can go to a teacher. No, you won't get fathering. Well, I can go to a prophet. No, you won't get fathering. See, in other words, what Paul, or what Jesus is pointing out in this very basic principle is, God has a design, and you have to honor the design. You design the person in the role that God has designed for that person to have in your life. So we really don't have a problem with fatherlessness. We have a difficulty in fathers and sons turning their hearts toward one another. And that's what I'm talking about here. How the fathering role and how the inheritor role function together. And for you as an inheritor, you need to press in. You need to make an urgent prioritization of what's available in your life, and in doing so, never allow the enemy to separate you. Deprioritize that, suck the passion of and urgency away from it, and get you in disgust or disinterest, or simply having you disconnect from fathering, because you can say, well, I'll just get that some other way, but you cannot get it any other way. That's one of the most basic aspects of Scripture. You cannot design the kingdom to run the way you want it and tell the king what to do. The king has a culture, the king has principles. You prioritize the kingdom of God and his right behaviors, his way of doing things. And when that happens, he becomes your source, and everything else begins to flow into your life. Your limitation comes at the point at which you limit the urgency and honor and prioritization of kingdom leadership design. And in particular, today I'm discussing, you limit fathering when you fail to pursue the Father and report to the Father and flow in the way in which your fathering leader designs for you to flow. You don't pick your own father. You don't tell him how to function. You don't tell him what to do. You submit to the Father's choices. You submit to the fathering leader's dynamics and style, and you pursue them even when you discover that it's inconvenient and that your father's not perfect, because your pride says, I deserve a better father, and God knows exactly how to get the fathering you need into your life. Well, I hope this is helpful. Just a fathering moment here with Dr. Don Lynch. God bless you.